This is the presentation number 4, which is Literary Theory and Criticism of Indian Aesthetics. My topic is I.A. Richards' criticism. First, we have to take some glimpse of about the critic. I.A. Richards' full name was Ivor Armstrong Richards. He was born in England. He died in Cambridge, Shire. His occupation was he was a critic, a poet, and a teacher. He completed his education at Cambridge. His most famous writings includes The Meaning of Meaning, Principle of Literary Criticism, and Practical Criticism. Here are some works which on he had worked. The Meaning of the Meaning in the year 1923, The Practical of Literary Criticism, The Practical Criticism, all the both the criticism we had aware of that, Science and Poetry, Coleridge and Imagination, Manichaeism of the Mind, The Philosophy of Rhetoric, and the Speculative Instruments. Here are some techniques and principles which he had complied in the main reference of his book, The Practical Criticism. He had said that I had set 3 aims before me in constructing this book. He has made 3 aims which is the motto of himself, which he wanted to convey to every literary form of work. The first is to introduce a new kind of documentation to those who are interested in the contemporary state culture. To the people who are interested in the state culture means to all the experiments which everyone wants to do. So he wants to compile all those things. The second is to provide a new techniques for those who wish to discover poetry and why like or dislike it. Here he wants to establish a thing where people are free to express their views over criticism or any literary work. Here he signifies the words that why like or dislike it. If you like it, you can share your review. If you dislike it, you can also share a review on that. And the third thing he wanted to say is that to prepare way for educational methods and more efficient than the power to understand what we hear and read. So he concentrates on the 2 words, that what we hear and what we read. Both are very different things. If we just hear it in a first instance, we can get the thing that hearing and reading are some of interconnected with each other, but at last he signifies both the thing in a many different ways. The another thing he wanted to convey is the qualities of a critic. It is very important to know that in the field of criticism, how a critic must be or how the qualities of a critic must be. So he says that he should grasp a strong control over words and the effect they produce. He wanted to say that a critic must have a dictionary of words, an encyclopedia of words. Words are very important in our life, and in criticism also it is a concept that over one word you have to convey more things. Like in criticism, there is not as much use of colloquial language because there are very simple, and we can also say by our experience of studies that criticism is somewhat more harder than the other subjects. The other one is he must be sound judge and have an adequate knowledge of psychology. Here psychology works as the teacher. Now the question arises that how psychology has a sense of knowledge, sense of thinking, which is very important in a critic. The other one is the critic is expected to understand and expand the concept of a poem, do that the poem may become intangible and its full value may be grasped. So here he wanted to say that if a critic is understanding something, if he wanted to convey his narratives to the people who are reading it, all the readers must grab the value of his words. Now it is very important to use such type of words which each and every reader can grasp it in that way that they can understand the whole meaning of its criticism. The another one is the textual analysis. This textual analysis is related with the figurative languages which we had studied earlier. So in figurative language, its textual analysis, he says a poet writes to communicate. A poet writes to communicate. Here the communication or the communicate word is very important, and we have to communicate with what. Here the question arises, we have to communicate with what. Then he says we have to communicate with the language which is made up of words, and hence a study of words are all important. Words carry four kind of meanings, or to be more precise, the total meaning of a word depends upon four factors, and that four factors are sense, feeling, tone, and intention. The first two are interconnected with each other, and the second two also rely upon each other, because sense and feeling have the same content but in a different way. And in the second one also, tone and intention have the same feeling but in different ways. Here, in new and practical criticism, he wanted to make something different from other criticism. So he tried that practical criticism began in 1920s with a series of experiments by Cambridge critic I.A. Richards. He gave a poem to his students for interpretation without any information about the poet, its title, or when they are written. So he wanted that his students or other people who are reading the criticism of the literature, he wanted to know the perception of the readers. He wanted to get the exact meaning of that literary subject. The other one is the subject of the objective of his work was to encourage students to concentrate on the words of the page rather than relying on preconceived or received belief about a text. If for example, if I had seen a movie and then I will criticize it, if I don't like it, I will say that no, that movie is not very good. If the another one who is listening, he or she also having the same type of feeling that okay, she has watched the movie, now the movie has a bad or negative impact on us. And here he I.A. Richards wanted to say that don't believe on others belief or others received conceptions. Just focus on the words on the page. What are the words on the page, and what you are believing it, or what you are understanding from the words. The new and practical criticism, he in which he has also criticizes the figurative language, which is a term of creative writing. In this art, he says that his early important works in the traditions were practical criticism, which is in the year 1929. The other one is which is seven type of ambiguity, which is done by William Emerson. And the third one, T.S. Eliot with his critical essays, Tradition and the Individual Talent, and Hamlet and his Problems. All these things are very necessary to understand because it has similar types of context, and I.A. Richards also wanted some different from other criticism. That's why he has made this type of practical criticism. These are my references where I had took some points over it and to more understanding for this presentation. Thank you. I hope you all like it.